Well, that's not a great way to start the review. Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out another brand new Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary Captivz supersized figure, and in fact this is the final one, and I would imagine it's probably going to be the final one that we get overall, because even though they did move on to the Dino Trackers, I guess, you know, it's still a little up in the air, because they moved on to the Dino Trackers, but from what I've been told so far from Toy Monster International is that the Dino Trackers are an exclusive to Australia for some crazy reason, which is absolutely awful. I don't know why they would make that decision. Definitely really depriving us here in the United States of acquiring these, because so far I have a full lineup of Captivz, and now randomly they've decided to not release a line here, and I know there is a strong demand for them, so definitely let Toy Monster International know if you guys are interested in getting the Dino Trackers. Let them know that you want to see those here in the United States, so hopefully they change their mind on that. But again, we have the 30th anniversary Jurassic Park Velociraptor here, but as you can see at the beginning of the video, it doesn't stand too well, which is why we have a PNSO stand there in its mouth trying to help it stand up. I don't know if it's just mine that's kind of warped and doesn't like to stand, or if it's all of them, because I have seen other people like Collect Jurassic, he's got one and it stands fine for him, but mine does not want to stand. And unfortunately, I was only able to find one of this raptor, so I don't have a second one to bring in if that one stands better. Regardless, you can see again we've got a JP style Velociraptor, or at least I assume it's a JP style one. It almost looks more like a Lost World Jurassic Park sort of a raptor, because it kind of has, I wouldn't say the tiger stripe thing going on, but it's got like orangish tones which really remind me of a Lost World raptor, but the actual patterning and everything moving through doesn't look very Lost World raptor-ish. Regardless, it's a pretty fun figure, so let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it and check it out from there. So looking at this raptor straight off the bat, you may recognize it if you've been my viewer for a little while now. If you've been watching my channel, you might notice this as a figure kind of that I've reviewed before as far as the sculpt goes. And what's actually funny is this figure was really hard to get a hold of previously, as this was released at the end of the run of Jurassic World Dominion Captivz, and it was a supersized figure that, to my knowledge, has only shown up in two different places, which was Canada and I think like Spain or some place like that. I can't really recall exactly. And it was, painted up like Velociraptor blue, so it was a very hard figure to get a hold of. But now, thankfully, the JP30th Anniversary Captivz have re-released it with this color scheme, so even though it's not the Velociraptor blue version, we do still at least have access to the sculpt in a much more reasonable way here in the United States, and hopefully in most other places. But since it is a figure that I've reviewed in the past, that means we don't need to go over the sculpt, just the paint apps. And what you can see going on as far as the paint apps go, here in the face, you've got a really nice orangish tone for the body. On top of that, you can also see that there's a big cluster of brown around the eye socket moving up into the palate toward the nostrils. That, again, also kind of combines with a dark brown wash that's been applied, which you can see is very obvious here on the lower jaw. We have that sort of like a light tone, kind of like a light gray there for the lower jaw. And on top of the head, you can also see more of that, dark brown wash. We also have a green eye with a black pupil. And again, I feel like the tones of color used on this kind of give this more of a Lost World Jurassic Park version of a Velociraptor. We just don't have the patterning perfect as far as like the striping effect. At the same time, I think maybe they could have been going for a Jurassic Park Raptor, because they sort of have a similar look to this as far as the coloration goes, but I'm not 100% sure exactly what was the main focus here as far as the coloration goes. You can see the teeth are all painted actually quite nicely. No real sloppiness as far as I can tell when it comes to the teeth, and they all look pretty good for the most part. They are definitely a little bit large as far as the appearance goes. They just kind of look a little awkward, but I think they look better for some reason this time around than they did for the Velociraptor blue version. You can also see there's a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, and you can see that there on the tongue and everything. As you move down through the course of the body, we basically pick up like a brown striping moving down, which you can see there. You can kind of make out like the orangish tone sort of creeping through the brown stripe striping. There's also a dark wash again running through the entire body, which is super obvious here on the lower part of the dinosaur. You can really see it down there. You can see moving down into the arms, we continue to have that sort of brown striping and then the orangish tones, but we transition to a white for the hands, or like a light gray for the hands. Basically the same color we have for the underside. No nail paint, unfortunately, when it comes to this one. But I don't think it takes away from it too much, and considering it is a minifigure and has this much coloration to it, it's still a pretty darn nice looking figure. You can see again how that dark wash continues to really make the scale detail pop on this one, even down here in the stomach region where you can see we continue to have that kind of light gray. Moving down the thighs, we have more of that brownish tone again, sort of striping, but more kind of just randomly and periodically showing up moving down the course of the foot. As you move down here, we have that light gray, but it's been hit with that dark wash so heavily it looks more like a brownish tone, but you can kind of see like that light gray kind of creeping through it. It's just now more of a brownish tone overall. And then we lead up here into the tail, and we continue to have that striping effect again as we lead out. We have that nice curve in the tail. You can see the stripes leading there along the way, and again that lighter tone moving through the underside. And that's really about it when it comes to the paintwork. There's not really much of anything else going on. Again, when it's a pop and lock figure like this, you kind of have articulation where you can swivel the neck and also swivel the tail because you have to pop those pieces in, but that's really about it. And again, for a minifigure, it's actually a really cool looking figure. And then here is the only real comparison I think we need to do, since we have reviewed the Velociraptor blue figure, and we actually reviewed it fairly recently. I don't feel like we need to do sizes, comparisons, any of that stuff for the newest version here, the Jurassic Park version. But I did want to at least bring in the Velociraptor blue figure to kind of display next to this raptor here, just to show again that they are definitely the same sculpt. They overall don't look to have any kind of a difference, except for, I would say, maybe a little bit of a better and smoother paint application on the Velociraptor blue. The dark wash wasn't so intense on the Velociraptor blue. It's there, but I feel like it actually looks a little bit better because the dark wash isn't so intense on the blue version compared to the newer JP30th Anniversary version. We also had painted nails on the Velociraptor blue, which we do not have on the newer Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary version, but without a doubt the same sculpt, so no need to do comparisons, measurements, any of that stuff. So this brand new Jurassic Park 30th Anniversary supersized Captivz Velociraptor is pretty cool, but I will say it's probably my least favorite of the newest wave of these supersized Captivz. I definitely like the Dilophosaurus and Ankylosaurus a little bit more, but that's not to take away from this figure. The reason I like those more is because they were brand new sculpts to my collection, and they were also very much so needed upgrades for those species in the Captivz line. They've never had a problem with Velociraptors, in my opinion. I think the Raptors have always been great since the beginning, so this is just another really cool version of a Raptor in a supersized form, whereas the Ankylosaurus and Dilophosaurus really needed an upgrade, and I was so happy to see that they had given them one. But the good thing about this Raptor is, as I mentioned earlier, it was a sculpt that was very hard to get pretty much anywhere unless we were in Canada, or like I said, I think Spain was the other place I had heard of having the Velociraptor blue version. And even though it's not the blue version, it is at least still that same sculpt. So if you are somebody that likes to at least collect every sculpt released by the Captivz line, you don't have to miss out on that now, hopefully. But it is a pretty nice looking figure. Again, it's just a little confusing to tell exactly what's, Raptor we were going for, what version. Like, I don't know if this was meant to be a Jurassic Park version or if it's meant to be more of a Lost World Jurassic Park version. What I can say, though, is it does look really cool, even if the paint apps, I think, could have done with a little bit less of an intense dark wash, because I think it just kind of jumbles the coloration, although having that sort of a look is what kind of makes me feel like this might have been more of a Jurassic Park version, because they sort of have that color where there's like that light variation of like a sort of almost like an orangish brown, but kind of a little bit more on the brown side of things, kind of jumbled with variations of darker browns throughout. So it kind of resembles, I think, maybe the JP Raptor a little bit more than a Lost World Raptor. I just think that the orange on this is a little bit closer to what you would see on, you know, like the tiger striped raptor. Regardless, again, it's a pretty cool looking sculpt for sure. Pretty decent paint apps, just a little bit heavy on the dark wash, but overall definitely another fun figure, a fun release in the Captivz line. Again, I believe this is probably going to be the last 30th anniversary figure that I get to review from, and of course add to my collection from the Captivz line, because I think at this point they're probably going to head a different direction. And as I said, the Dino Trackers figures, as of right now, from what I've been told by Toy Monster International, are exclusive to Australia. So if you would like to see those figures get a release here, make sure you contact Toy Monster International on, you know, Instagram or wherever you can, and let them know that you want to see those figures head here to the United States so we can get a hold of some of those and add those to our collection as well. So again, if you are interested in picking this one up, head to your local Walmart, check the toy aisle, grab yourself one of those supersized eggs, or I will include a link in the description to where you can also do that and have it shipped to you. And also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.